When a country has borders with Poland in the west, and Japan in the east, it gives rise to the question, just what continent is Russia in? Is Russia in Europe, or Asia? Or is it in both continents at the same time? The quick and simple answer is that, because the Ural Mountains form the boundary between the two continents and mark the unofficial border between Asia and Europe, Russia is a part of two continents. Is in both Europe and Asia. But the detailed answer is slightly more complex than just considering where is Russia located geographically. To deal with it properly, we need to look more carefully at Russia's geography, its history, its politics and its culture. By the way, that's Kaliningrad Oblast, a tiny part of Russia next to Poland. Although Russia is thought of by many people as a European country, almost 3/4 of its landmass is actually in Asia, east of the Urals. A more pertinent question might be, is Russia in Asia? It is usually accepted that the Ural Mountains mark the border between Europe and Asia. Anything to the west of the Urals is considered to be in Europe, and everywhere on the eastern side of the range is considered to be in Asia. Russia is a massive country, of 17,098,242 square kilometers in size. But only about 4 million square kilometers of Russia are in Europe, west of the Urals. The remaining 13 million square kilometers, including Siberia and the Russian Far East, are in Asian Russia. European Russia is much more densely populated than the rest of Russia, though. About 75% of the Russian population lives in European Russia. Historically, Russia is one of the few countries in the world that has held territory in 3 continents at the same time. As well as its European and Asian territory, Russia held territory in North America in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, through the auspices of the Russian-American Company. Quite a few Russian colonies were founded in Alaska, as well as a number of others along the western seaboard of North America, going as far south as Fort Ross, now Fort Ross in California. Russia gave up its American territories in 1867, when it sold Alaska to the United States for $7.2 million in a sale known as the Alaska Purchase, or Seward Purchase. The split between Russia's two identities has been a major factor in Russian politics and has shaped its relations with the outside world for hundreds of years. Russia has never quite decided whether it is a European country or an Asian country. The confusion goes back to the times of Peter the Great, who was one of the great modernizers of Russian history. Until Peter's arrival, Russia was a landlocked and generally not well-respected country. Peter believed that Russia could not hope to be a great power without looking outwards, and so he traveled across Europe to learn about new technologies and ways of organizing society. He took many of these new developments back to Russia, and his vision was instrumental in turning Russia into a strong country and a major player in 16th century Europe. The debate became formalized and entrenched in 1840s and 1850s when two opposing intellectual movements began to take shape. On the one hand were the Westernizers, who advocated building Russian society along Western, European lines. And, on the other hand were the Slavophiles, who wanted Russia to accept its uniqueness and develop its own, distinct way of doing things. Their vision was a more traditional, less individualistic society. Since then, every Russian leader has faced the dilemma of whether to build closer links to Europe or Asia. And Russia has often seesawed between the two approaches. As a result, Russia has developed in a way that doesn't quite fit either vision. A modern example of this tension is the different approaches taken by two of Russia's most recent presidents, Boris Yeltsin and Vladimir Putin. While Yeltsin adopted Western free market economic policies at the end of the Cold War, Putin's Russia is characterized by a more centralized form of state capitalism, combined with an assertive foreign policy. The idea of continents is used so loosely in common thought that it's often not easy to say which continent a country belongs to. It's as much about how a country wants to identify as anything else.